And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, him.
Attention, roll call.
That's right. Good morning, everybody. 8:05 live Eastern time. I'm back stateside. Feels good to be back in the mainland, back in the RV. And as Fat Triple Neck would say, back in the trailer park. So, good morning, everyone. We've got a lot of content for you Monday morning. We are getting down to the wire. The election's tomorrow. So, before we jump into that, we have some sad news. We would just want to send our condolences to fellow NYPD police officer who lost his life with 19 years on the job to cancer. And I know cancer too well, so God bless him, may rest in peace. Just, it's far too sad. John.
Yeah, rest in peace to Dorian Congoli. 19 years on the job, World Trade Center Command he worked at. His funeral is being held today. We'll put up the funeral details towards the end. Think it's out. Wait, I could probably grab it right here. Give me 1 second. I'll pull up the funeral details. Funeral details are Beach Channel Drive in Rockaway, New York, at Dennis S. O'Connor Inc. Funeral. So, and that's occurring from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Visitations also tomorrow, November 4th, at 11 a.m. starts, and then the burial will also be held at. The burial tomorrow starts at 11 and the burial will be at 12:15. That's going to be in Farmingdale, New York. So we're sending our condolences to Dorian, all his loved ones, and obviously prayers for him. So sad day, man.
Yeah, good morning, guys. I share the sentiments. Condolences to the officer's family and his colleagues, and it's sad, 19 years on, just about to he's about to cross that threshold where you could ride off into the sunset, and this happens. You guys got to take your health seriously, Take it seriously, But anyway, it's Monday, unfortunately, and it's not too great of a looking day out here in New York. But I hope you guys had a great weekend, nevertheless, and we have a lot to talk about regarding the election. There's not much time left, so if you haven't voted already, you please take time out and go and vote, and let's make sure we get Curtis in there and defeat the two agents of the vampire class, before they go in there and they wreak even more havoc on the city of New York.
We're getting down to the wire here, and I say at this point, this is where we get to see who's loyal to their party or to the person they believe in. For us, it's Curtis Sewa. And we've been loyal since the beginning to Curtis Sewa, when we identified that he's the man for the job. But for some of those that have been so-called behind Curtis Sewa, that have bucked and went to support Cuomo because Mamdani might win, this is where we just see a major play going on. I mean, there's so many conspiracy theories to this, but this is the most interesting election I think New York City has ever seen. We have such a large turnout. New York City has always suffered from voter apathy, but this is by far the best voting numbers that we've ever seen. So get out there and vote. Curtis Sewa clearly is the man to lead the way. Not an insider when it comes to politics. He's an insider when it comes to New York City. He's the only one in this race that belongs raising his hand in New York City. He's the one to serve the people, and the people love him. So John went to a rally actually yesterday in Queens, and Big Ron, actually, from the executive perspective, he went also. And thank you to Antoinette. She was there, and Eddie West. So a lot of people, friends and listeners to the podcast and the network were at the rally. A lot of support for Curtis Sewa. I mean, he's tired, but he's doing a great job. He's 71 years old. He's showing some great stamina. He's fighting hard. He's out there. His boots are on the ground. God bless him. We support him. John, tell us about the rally. What are your thoughts?
No, rally was awesome, man. A lot of Finest Unfiltered families showed up. Frankie Pagliucci was there as well. There was countless people, Shout out to the cops that patrolled that day. That they were awesome. I thought they did a great job. Parks was there. They did a great job. And just a lot of love, man. It was all love. It was all working class New Yorkers all banding together. And I thought it showed. Truly, it showed. Curtis Lewa is the working man's mayor. He's the mayor of the outer boroughs. That's why he's been coined as the people's mayor, because he's the only one that's not subservient to the billionaire class. And the billionaire class, I gotta say, man, I'm like, I came to a huge realization last night. Huge realization, like being here, speaking with everyone, based upon some of the political insiders and what they're telling me. I gotta say, man, I think we all got played. I think everybody got played. I was one of the first people to say that Zohran Mamdani is going to win the Democratic primary when he was polling at 1%. And I'm here to tell you now that Zohran Mamdani has zero shot at being the New York City mayor. I totally think he's going to finish in third. I think he's going to get slaughtered. I think he already got slaughtered. I think he's going to get slaughtered on election day. This has always been a two-man race, and it was boggling my mind why Rich as a party didn't run a better campaign to get Andrew Cuomo to beat Zohran Mamdani, and I see it clear as day now. They needed Zohran Mamdani to get you to vote for Andrew Cuomo. They needed Zohran Mamdani to take probably the worst candidate to ever run for mayor, New York's worst governor, New York's most radical governor, and they put Zohran Mamdani up on a pedestal. They push votes towards him. They get him to win. Eric Adams helps. Some Republicans helped. They get Zohran Mamdani to win. And I personally don't think he may get a little bit more votes than he got in the Democratic primary, but it's not really going to move the needle, and it's not going to be anything significant. I think Zohran Mamdani finishes in third place. I think he needs a miracle to come in second. And for all of you weak Republicans that we were telling you this is a propaganda campaign, maybe we didn't articulate it properly, but we're articulating it now. Curtis Lewa for mayor. This is how it was always. Curtis Lewa beats Zohran Mamdani straight up, or Zohran Mamdani beats Andrew Cuomo straight up. The polls, the betting sites will be tremendously wrong on Wednesday morning. All of them. Just like they were when it came to the primary. And I got to say right now, I thought Rich as a party was terrible, but I think this was probably the most brilliant campaign I've ever watched, and a propaganda campaign. And it worked on so many people. And for those Republicans and conservative talking heads, didn't work on them. They're just bought off. They're unprincipled. They're sellouts. Don't ever trust those people again. Careers got ruined over this. Polling data will be ruined over this. Kalishi and Poly Market will never be trusted again after this. Mark my words.
It's a very interesting theory. You guys know my theories already, that the game was designed to boost up Zohran Mamdani, and to that basically both sides are controlled by the same people at the top. And they benefit the same people at the top because both Cuomo and Mamdani's policies are very similar. So I said that basically, what did I say? I said basically that Zohan was meant to be the winner, and that Cuomo is kind of, well, I said on Twitter yesterday that basically through all the jihadi talk and all this fear mongering from the establishment, which is in a lot of ways both sides of the establishment, that they're boosting Zohran's national notoriety, and they're trying to motivate people to go out there and vote for Cuomo. But if Zohran wins, they don't care because they've won either way. The whole game is to obstruct Curtis Lewa and to obstruct the voice, obstruct populism. Okay, because populism is there's a groundswell of emotion against the elites and elitism, and they're trying their best to shut you out, because again, there are a lot of changes coming to the city and to the country overall, and they need to control all the seats at the table. They don't want your voice at that table. So that's an interesting theory you have, John. Very interesting.
Well, I think what's interesting about all this is no matter what the outcome turns out to be, is the question for this after this election is, what does it say for polls going forward? Can we trust polls? Are they even necessary at this point? Should anyone be guided by these polls or things like poly market where money can manipulate people's, you could say be very suggestive, not necessarily manipulate, right? Because it's your choice if you want to put money down on something, but is it suggestive? And poly market is very suggestive. And these polls also, if you look at polls, I think polls are also suggestive also because it's what market are you speaking to? Who is your audience? Are they, we talk about likely voters. Are they registered voters? Are they actually likely to even vote if they're registered? So predominantly New York City is Democratic. But what's interesting about it is Curtis Lewa is loved by all. The fact that he is an outside politician, that he's an insider when it comes to New York City, he's loved by all. And I wouldn't say he's actually your typical conservative Republican. He's somewhere in the middle. And I think he attracts to Republicans and he attracts to Democrats. I think I just froze for a second. So did you, John.
Yeah.
But I don't know if maybe it's on John's end. Just froze for a second. But the bottom line is Curtis Lewa, I think that's the best way to say it. He is the people's mayor. The people love him. Democrat, independent, Republican. The people love him because they know he's a household name. His boots have been on the ground. He's someone that people can relate to themselves. Hey, do I take the subway to work? Do I grind? Have I been in situations in New York City where I've had enough, in the early 70s where he had enough with the crime being out of control? Curtis Lewa attracts to everyone. He is a true New York City guy. That's what attracts to people. Democrat or Republican, that's what this race is not about. This race is about the people and it's about the person. And I think damn well the elites that are behind Mamdani and Cuomo knew damn well that Curtis Lewa is a legit player and he can win.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. I think that they see a populist uprising, a true populist uprising, because people try to say that Zohran Mamdani is a populist candidate. I get he has some populist appeal to the youth, but it's unwarranted because he really has nothing behind his policies. I did a whole interview with New York City for Yourself, Amy, yesterday, just on that topic alone. And I'll share that when it's ready. So I don't want to get too far into the weeds with that one. But like the real populist candidate is Curtis Lewa. I mean, Curtis Lewa yesterday rallied all day around the entire borough of Queens. The entire borough of Queens. I'm 45. After that rally, I was wiped out. I went home. I was staying with my sister. I went home. I went to her house. I hung out with my brother-in-law and my sister till like 7:30. And I was like, I thought it was 11 o'clock at night. And I passed out. Curtis Lewa went on to go to Manhattan. And he walked 80 blocks in Manhattan. And he got home at 3 o'clock in the morning last night. I'm like, holy crap. I just can't even believe like the energy and how bad he wants this and how bad and the amount of love that he has in New York. I mean, the dude is like Elvis Presley. Like trying to get him to his car yesterday is a Herculean task. It's like everyone wants to take a picture with him. Everybody wants to talk to him. Everybody wants to shake his hand. He truly is the people's mayor. And I think Marlon, what I'm saying has a lot of what you're saying in it, right? Like I'm saying like this whole thing was being propagated to it. Not only was it a campaign to get the most unelectable candidate, Andrew Cuomo, elected, the most unfavorable candidate in history elected to New York City mayor, to a city that he destroyed. Not only was it a brilliant campaign on that part, but it's really brilliant to manipulate voter perception, to control voter perception and really push this globalist agenda and crush this populist uprising that's happening, because it is happening and it's real and it's a groundswell and people are starting to pay attention and people are paying more attention to politics. And so, the campaigns that, and especially, Democrats are brilliant at this, appealing to low information voters. Like, that's always the campaign of politics, right? It's like, I'm going to say I'm going to give you this. Like, think about Zohran Mamdani's campaign. I'm going to give you everything, but I actually can't give you any of those things. So, but you're going to vote for me because I said I was going to give you everything. And then I'm going to fail at all those promises. And 4 years later, I'm going to promise you some other stuff that I can't deliver to you. And you're going to vote for me again. And I'm not going to deliver it again. And like, that's what traditionally politics has been in this country for the last 50 years, right? They're just appealing to low information voters. We're a bunch of idiots going to work every day like sheep. I'm like, yeah, the news told me this. Boo. And then you go to the voting booth. You don't even know the guy's name, or you're looking at a ballot and you don't even know half the people on it. So what's changing significantly today in this country, not just in New York City, across the entire nation, is voters are becoming informed. Who's that dangerous to? It's dangerous to the big money players who want to control you, who want to put the candidates they want in place that'll benefit them, that they will profit from. So that's what's happening. And this is happening across the entire country. I was just informed about in Miami, almost like a similar thing is happening now, where a conservative candidate's running against a Democrat and a socialist. And the conservative candidate, they're actually everyone around saying, don't vote for the conservative, hold your nose and vote for the Democrat. So it's a large propaganda playbook happening across America. But I ultimately think it's going to be defeated. And I ultimately think on Wednesday, regardless of the results, you're going to see one thing, that Curtis Sliwa was always ahead. I don't know if the propaganda takes him down. I don't know. I think that, but you're going to see the polls lied to you, the betting sites lied to you, the talking heads lied to you. Everyone lied to you. Every single thing you were told was a lie, including that Zohran Mamdani was going to be this juggernaut. Like, he ran a brilliant primary campaign, but nothing came out against him until after the Democratic primary. And again, I think it was intentional. And I think that was a play from Andrew Cuomo's team. And now they're sitting there, they're accusing Curtis's wife of working with her. They're accusing Curtis of making a deal. It's disgusting, but I'll give it to Rich as a party. I thought he was an idiot. And I'll say right now, I think that he ran a brilliant campaign, but the gig's up. Go out there, vote Curtis Sliwa. If we win here, it's going to have national implications across the country, and there will be a populist uprising, because the lie that you can't win in New York City, it's so thick and it's so untrue. I'm standing in Queens yesterday, and I'm with all Curtis Sliwa supporters, and I had people telling me that, well, it's really hard for a Democrat to win. I'm like, a Republican to win in a Democratic city. I'm like, wait, time out. I was like, time out. Where are you standing right now? Standing in the 102nd precinct. Who covers this precinct? Joanne Ariola. What is Joanne Ariola? Republican. What's the Democratic makeup in Joanne Ariola's district? 6-1 Democrats. How'd she win? How'd she win? It's impossible. You're telling me it's impossible. How do we have Republican candidates winning in overwhelmingly Democratic parts of New York City? And that could be replicated throughout every borough in New York City. You know why? Because working class people don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. If you appeal to the working class people, if you appeal to the lifeblood of New York City, you will get elected regardless of your political affiliation. And that's what people aren't seeing. It is a lie, people. A Republican can win in New York City for any seat.
Yeah, that's a lot that I'm gonna have to really sit and digest, John. Because I think you add a new layer to what I was thinking about, and I really have to think about this, because I kind of thought Zohan was losing steam and momentum on his own, but
it wasn't organic, dude. It was propped up steam, bro. They filled air in his balloon, dude.
No, I believe that. I just kept thinking that he failed to capitalize on the momentum, and he was naturally losing steam on his own. But that's a whole nother layer you've just added that again I have to really sit and think about. But yeah, I think I think this is a rejection of globalism as a whole, and I think See, I said it before, but I think these elites made a gamble on globalism, and their gamble was on the left side of globalism, which is progressivism, global progressivism, and that got rejected vehemently during the scamdemic. Okay, because if you look at the scamdemic, all those people who were pushing it heavily pushing it were on the left. Okay, and so I think that was rejected. And I think because that rejected, and I won't go into the weeds why I believe it connects to like the money and all that, but I think that was rejected and they had to switch the play around. And the play is now to come in on the right side and use, and we're seeing it now, and to use the propaganda and the same tactics they used during the scamdemic to now try and get try and galvanize us on the right side this time. But in both cases, it's bogus. Okay, the agenda is again elitism and globalism. Okay, it's just they're coming at it from a different angle this time, and I think too many people have been angered and they still have been traumatized by what happened there to forget it, and I think it's given them problems, and I think because they saw the level of propaganda during that time, that is certainly in my case, it's easier for me to recognize it now because of what I saw back then. But I think populism is there's that groundswell of it has been since the mid-teens when the Tea Party started, and it's I think they're doing all they can to try and suppress it, but I don't think it's working, and I'm encouraged now by that what you said about this going on in Miami and the fact that people recognize it there too.
Well, it does solidify and it validates things that we've been saying on this network, because we've said quite for some time that the name recognition that Zohran Mamdani has gotten in New York that's spread throughout the entire country, maybe the entire world, I think on a global level, because New York City, the spotlight is always highlighted on New York City. Everyone knows about the candidate race for New York City mayor, and they know the name Zohran Mamdani. You know, as I've said numerous times, driving through remote areas in Alaska, there were people there that knew the name Zohran Mamdani. So the question was, is this something that could spread to other blue cities throughout the entire country and see if this type of propaganda works? And the answer is yes. I mean, at least I believe. I mean, we spoke about this in length. And what we can learn from this is can the elites pretty much buy elections? Can they use money to sway elections? Can the free market zone be injected and infected with the elites? And I think the answer is yes. And that's why, John, I think you make up a great point of a populist uprising, because I think people are at this point, especially in New York City, Republicans and just common sense Democrats, they're tired of being ignored, right? They've only catered to the low information voter. So people are tired of being ignored. So they want to know what's going on. They're tired of being overtaxed. They're tired of the city, yes. They're tired of all these infections that are going on in New York City that made it look like unrecognizable, uninhabitable compared to what it was. So I do think we may see a big twist here. The question is, the people that have been behind this since the beginning, and the people that have maybe unknowingly been behind this, do you think at some point they know that they've been a plant, that they've been driving this propaganda? I mean, like Dov Hikind and people that are now saying, let's get behind Cuomo to sway away from Sliwa because Zohran Mamdani might win. Do you think they know they're part of this game, or do you think they're actually just completely manipulated? By the way, great pick. There's a pick of John, Antoinette, great friend of the podcast here, and Big Ron, awesome. That's a great pick at the rally. Good stuff.
Yeah, it was good to see Amazing Ann. I don't think we mentioned her earlier, and she's always an integral part of everything. So shout out to Amazing Ann. She's always out advocating for what's right, So thank you for all your hard work. Sorry if we didn't say it earlier. But yeah, she was getting people to subscribe to the podcast. She was bullying everybody. Those who didn't know. I mean, I think most people know, but she was, so keep up the good work, Antoinette. That's how we got to almost 50,000. So thank you. We appreciate you.
Antoinette got 49,000 of them.
Yeah. Definitely. But to answer your question, Eric, I think they are part of the game. I don't think that, I think there are useful idiots, the Republicans for Cuomo, that he can't win. Again, that's the low information voter that they're appealing to. They're turning people by using fear. It's a fear campaign. It's a campaign based on fear. It's the same thing as what happened during COVID. They're using that exact same playbook to manipulate voter. It's honestly, in my opinion, it's election interference. It's big money election interference. But I think those big names, the Ina Vertikoff, the Sid Rosenberg, the Dov Hikins, the Jim Waldens, I don't think that they're useful idiots. I think that they're part of the game. That's what I think. I think they know full well what the hell is happening. I don't think they're so scared of Zohran Mamdani. They know full well what happened, what they did. They know what his chances are, and he is not the big bad wolf that everybody's saying he is. And it is what it is. Like I don't think he's an unbeatable candidate. I never thought he was. Like I said, I think I could have ran in the Democratic primary on a conservative right-wing base and beat Zohran Mamdani. It wasn't hard to do some opposition research on him and just absolutely obliterate him and get people to not vote for him in the Democratic primary. So I think, they filled his balloon with steam, and they put him up there as the big bad monster, and all the polls are showing that he's this political juggernaut and he can't be beaten 90%, 95%, 80%, all of that in a manner to really put him on a pedestal and like just keep throwing. Because what does Andrew Cuomo have to run on? Seriously. Like, what does he have? What has he accomplished? Nothing. I put out a post the other day, the Andrew Cuomo experience. I was going to turn it into an article, but I haven't had time. And, I just went through Andrew Cuomo's entire career. I mean, he is a far left radical. And at best, he is deadly incompetent. At worst, he is intentionally deadly. So he's not anyone that should ever be elected. And the campaign is literally all I hear in New York every time I turn Pandora or radio station on is don't vote for Curtis Sliwa. That's Andrew Cuomo's campaign. He's not even campaigning against Mamdani. He's campaigning against Curtis Sliwa. He's trying to get to Curtis Sliwa voters. Why? Because Curtis Sliwa is the main threat. He's the candidate. This is a two-man race between Andrew Cuomo and Curtis Sliwa. The traditional elitist Democrats, they love Andrew Cuomo. They love being locked down. They love being forced vaccinated. They love all that. So they will always vote for Andrew Cuomo. They don't care that they're lining up for him to lock them in nursing homes. It's amazing to me to watch, but that's the Democrats, right? Like that's who they are. Like, so he doesn't need to appeal to them at all, but they're sending around a tweet that this lady put out. And first of all, I don't believe that it's a real account, and I don't believe that she put it out. I think, again, this was a campaign strategy. In the tweet, the lady says, Andrew Cuomo murdered my husband, and I'm still voting for him. That's how bad New York City is. And I don't think that was real at all. I think that the campaign put that out because they're using, you ever watch 8 Mile? You ever watch 8 Mile with Eminem when the final rap battle, he takes all of the stuff that's bad about him and he throws it out there? That's what they're doing with Andrew Cuomo. They're taking all of the bad stuff about Andrew Cuomo and they're saying, well, yeah, but don't worry about that stuff because the other guy's so much worse. And if you vote for Curtis Sliwa, you support the other guy. So that's their campaign strategy. It's not elect Andrew Cuomo. It's don't elect Zohran Mamdani. So if you don't want to Zohran Mamdani, you better not vote for Curtis Sliwa. It's honestly, it's propaganda at the next level. It is. Shout out to you, Rich Azzopardi. You're still a snake and a liar.
Yeah, to answer Eric's question, I think there are three types of people here. There are some people who are ignorant about this, but they're not the like the influencers and the people you see on social media. I think those people, a lot of them are opportunists, and who are looking to to see if they can get into that class of get into those circles. And I think the other people are the more more noteworthy people are they're in it, and they share not only the same worldview as the elitists, but they're some of them may have been in the game for a while. because I'm saying it specifically about like when I look at Jim Walden and what he's been involved in before. I look at his Trump derangement syndrome from years ago, and I look at his involvement in cases that were pivotal to the left wing agenda, progressivism, and the agenda, from transgenders to like you name it, right? And I have to wonder when I look at that. Like I said before, that I think he might have been a hatchet man for the deep state and for left wing for the left wing agenda. And when I look at his involvement in those cases, I can't I have to ask that question whether he was. But I think a lot of these same people share the same mindset as the elitists, and that share the same worldview. And that worldview is that they know better than us. So again, they're part of the agenda. And a lot of these people, I'm sure if you were to go back and look at this scamdemic, I'm sure a lot of them were also pushing the entire agenda in that period onto us as well. But yeah, I think the game is up, and I think too many people are aware of what's going on, and they see it all around them, and they see how their lives aren't getting better, and that frustration is boiling over, and you're seeing it in again, populism.
John, I just want to tell you, you got a lot of likes in the chat, brother. A lot of people saying you were looking jacked up with your Jordans on. So it's funny. I'm not a Cuomo sexual, but I did speak to John. I said, "Yo, what are you eating, man? You ate your Wheaties. You look jacked up in that picture." So yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I think John had a medium on, so good stuff.
Bro. You gotta, it's mediums. That's it. The campaign
mediums,
asked me what size shirt I am. They didn't know what a medium was. I was like, you don't know what it's medium. They're like, you can't wear a medium. I was like, no, it's a large.
You know what the medium is.
It's a large. It's an extra medium.
I think ultimately, I said this last week on the roundtable, but I really believe this. I think this all comes down to the city, yes. And I think because it's the elites and the developers that are behind this that are trying to manipulate, because the city, yes, is not about the residents. The city of yes is about the developers. It's a hell of an opportunity for them to make money. And that's what I think this comes down to. I think we've identified that there's numerous things. And you're right. It's a great analogy, John. Thinking about Cuomo, you talk about the movie 8 Mile. And I remember 8 Mile. I think I wait online to watch the movie. So you're 100% right. I think everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people in this are being played. This push, this propaganda was pretty impressive to get to this point. Now, if Curtis Sliwa wins, that's my point of saying, do these people know? Because if they win, are they going to be shocked by it and feel, disloyal? Are they going to feel like they betrayed Curtis Sliwa? Or do you think they're going to feel like, well, we had to do what we had to do? I don't know. It says a lot about people. But I've also, I've been in contact with a lot of people, and a lot of people have told me that we're living in an echo chamber, and that, we're in an environment where people are supporting Curtis Sliwa, and we're not seeing what's going on the outside the city, and that people love Zohran Mamdani, and Zohran Mamdani is a true player in this. I don't think so. I mean, if you watch those debates, clearly Zohran Mamdani doesn't have a plan. He was just a face, and it was kind of like the notoriety, kind of like nostalgia, and it's already worn out.
Yeah, can I add something to that?
Sure.
To what you're saying, Eric. We've said it before that it's about a city of yes, but there's a video that Bill Aikman and some other guys like Larry Fink and the head of Intel, basically the elite of American industry right now. We're in Saudi Arabia about a week ago, and they sat down at a table and they were asked questions, and one of those questions was directed towards Bill Aikman and what he was doing on social media. And in his answer, Bill Aikman said that basically he defended his actions on social media and his advocacy on social media. And he also implored the other people at the seats, like Larry Fink, and I believe Jamie Dimon of Chase was there too. He implored them to kind of follow his lead and do the same thing, so that Zohan wouldn't get in there. His words. So I thought that was interesting because I didn't see an answer I didn't see any other person on the table answer that follow up when he said that about Zohan. And what I think is very interesting about that is that Bill Ackman is doing it because he, more so than the others at that table, is invested in real estate, and which goes back to the city of Yes being one of the principal drivers of this PSYOP.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, like, the fear mongering around Zohran Mamdani, there's real no substance behind it, right? Communist, globalist, jihadist, he's going to bring Sharia law. All of the businesses are going to flee. And then when you watch the debates and you hear the policies, Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani are exactly the same. So, like, two points, actually, I think 3 points, but one, when you look at the defund the police, right? Zohran Mamdani was a big defund the police guy, right? And so Andrew Cuomo's beating him up about it. But who was Andrew Cuomo in 2020? He said defund the police was a legitimate school of thought. Then you move over to COVID, right? We had Zohran Mamdani on the podcast. I asked him specifically about you, Marlon. I asked him specifically about you. I said, here's an immigrant, a black man, a resident of Queens. I mean, you guys have similar stories, right? He was an immigrant. He's a resident of Queens. He identifies as a person of color. You know, he's saying that he wants to push the poor and the middle class ahead, that they've been brought down by authoritarians. The thumb of tyranny has been placed on them. And here you are, terminated, non-disciplinary, never been charged criminally, civilly, administratively, didn't violate any policy of the patrol guide in the NYPD, and your life was destroyed by the thumb of tyranny. And we asked Zohran Mamdani, the self-avowed socialist, what he would do. And he hypocritically said that he didn't like how it was handled, meaning he didn't like that some were exempted from it. He would have forced it on everyone. And we all know that's not true. He's just going to force it on us, on the working class, on the working man, on the lesser than, right? And so he wouldn't hire you back. But what was that? Was that just a support of vaccine mandates? No. It was a support of Andrew Cuomo lockdowns too, which is what he's using as political fodder against Andrew Cuomo. He's saying, oh, look how he handled COVID. Well, guess what, guy? You came on here and you said you were going to do the same exact thing. So what's the difference between you and Andrew Cuomo? You both defund the police guys. You both far left progressives. You both want lockdowns. You both want vaccine mandates. And ultimately, you know what they didn't argue over at all? Exactly what Eric just said. The city of Yes, which is handing over communities to special interest groups and to a big mogul real estate developers. That's who it is. You see the parkland behind me? Beautiful park. FYI, party got started when it got dark out there. There's all kids racing their cars, blasting their music. So the party got started there late. But beautiful parkland that you could find in the middle of Queens. And a lot of outdoor space. That'll all be handed over to developers. So as well as all the residential neighborhoods throughout New York City. And you got to sit there and say, well, why are the billionaires behind these two and not behind Curtis Lewa? It's because they're involved in it. They're going to make a lot of money. There's going to be a lot of windfall if Andrew Cuomo's the mayor. There's going to be, a lot of parklands just going to get handed over for $1 or $5. And it's going to be to make everything more green and more sustainable and bring up the quality of life and build affordable housing and make New York City more affordable. And it's going to have the exact opposite effect. Nothing's going to get greener. Nothing's going to help the climate. And the cost to live in New York City is only going to skyrocket. So, I mean, that's what people aren't seeing is they are the same exact candidate. They're using political fodder and they're using fear mongering to think that somehow there is a difference between Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani, and they're getting some of you idiots to vote Democrat. And for people like Dove, Ina, all the yous, I mean, I think Sid's a useful idiot, to be fair. I don't think he's as like diabolical as like a Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly's a don't ever listen to that guy again. That guy's a loser. That guy, I don't trust that guy as far as I could throw him. That guy is a complete phony. The way he's going after Curtis, the things he's saying, they don't even make sense. And that guy did himself in. He's diabolical. Those people are all diabolical. They have nefarious intentions for you, for New York, and they don't care about the working man or the working class. Pay attention to what's happening, people.
Yeah, and just a reminder that the city of Yes has been rejected by a lot of parts of the outer boroughs already. In particular, the areas of the city that have houses, that are zoned for single family homes. It's been rejected already, but they keep coming back to it, and I believe it's going to be, it's going to be revisited. So they passed certain parts of it, but certain neighborhoods were excluded from it. But I think it's something that is going to get revisited in other ways, because again, there's a lot of money to be made here, and a lot of these, a lot of the developer class are counting on the subsidies from the city to help them, develop and help them, mitigate the losses in commercial real estate. So I think that again, the city of Yes plays a pivotal role in what we're seeing, and I hope, I'm encouraged, like I said, that people are woken up to it, and we're going to see a difference when it comes tomorrow.
I think what's interesting about this is even the name. It was called the City of Yes, right? Where the people are supposed to have a say, but yet I don't think the people have a say at all. It comes down to what the elites have. Because if this is truly about the working class, why is it these developers are trying to push luxury apartments? You look at the South Bronx, you look at the Sobro area. I think that's the best highlighted area of what's going on with City of Yes. You look at the South Bronx, they call it Sobro, all these beautiful restaurants being put up, and they're putting up all these luxury apartments right by the 3rd Avenue Bridge because it's accessible to Manhattan. It's not cops and teachers and blue collar workers moving in there. That's for for young yuppies in Manhattan, hipsters with money. That's not for the working class. The developers want luxury apartments. It doesn't even fit. Talk about affordable housing in New York City. Not at all. Not at all. I mean, you could almost, if you go down to that area in the South Bronx, you could almost see it's like an imaginable dividing line between the South Bronx and the South Bronx, the Sobro area. It looks like two different worlds. And there's no fence, but there is a legitimate feel. You can feel the aura. It's just completely different. And there's nothing wrong with building up an area, making it better. But working class people, cops can't afford to live there. Teachers can't afford to live there. Housing for Life says too close to Mitchell Projects. Yeah, it's right. It's a great point. It's right next to the Mitchell housing. But there's almost like a dividing line. And you could see it completely. That we're talking about the City of Yes. The developers are completely behind this, and it's for the elites, and they're building luxury apartments. And Marlon, you said on the roundtable, you're 100% right last week. It's destroying communities. You're not getting those community feels anymore. It's going to look like Beijing, China. It's going to be just very cookie cutter, the same thing. People live in the same area. They don't even know who's who. You just have an apartment. You don't even have a key. You got your keypad to your location. That's it. They all look exactly the same. You have to have a certain amount of money to live in these places. There's no New York City vibe or New York City feel. Curtis Lewa is the only man to keep up that feel. Without Curtis Lewa, if it's Cuomo or Zohran Mamdani, it's going to look exactly the same.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you guys see, I think you made mention to it already, Eric, the agent of change, former fire commissioner Laura Kavanaugh. She's lobbying Mamdani for deputy mayor gigs. She wants to be deputy mayor of public safety. So it's funny. Here's another lie that Eric Adams put out. We'll put out the lie. I want to talk about that too, because Eric Adams is saying that he's going to hire 5,000 more cops. He's going to raise the head count to 5,000. And so everyone was asking me about that yesterday. And I'm like, that's going to happen. Just like 3 months ago when he told you he was going to register 1 million new voters and win the mayoral race. Yeah, if you still believe anything that Eric Adams says, I don't know what to tell you. But I could sell you the Verrazano Bridge. Hit me up in the DMs. So for sale, $1 million, great investment. And eventually we'll get its name after you, because like the guy just completely lies about everything. Here's another one. What did he tell us about Laura Kavanaugh? He told us she's leaving to start a family. No, nothing's going on here. She's just leaving to start a family. And now, oh, really? It looks like she wants back in city government, as per the Post. Unfortunately, Laura, the agent of change, Zohran Mamdani is not going to be a next mayor. It's either going to be Cuomo or it's going to be Curtis Lewa. And you know how I know? Ask the socialists in New York City how they feel. Hardcore brought it up, talking about the New York City speaker who's going to be lobbying for that. And that's a big tell, too, if you look to see that the socialists really don't think he has a shot. So I think the Dems are going to move for a real radical socialist in the city council because they're not going to get one in the mayor. So, so just take a look at that. But what do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I think it's funny how much failed government administrators keep trying to worm their way back into city government. I mean, you look at all the controversies she was involved in, and how much she attempted to wreck morale over there at FDNY, and you saw the pushback against her, and now she's trying to literally worm her way back into it in the guise of the Post is saying that she wants to become the deputy mayor of public safety, okay, which would oversee the FDNY as well. So she didn't learn her lesson, and she again can't make it in the private sector and can't make it on her own. So she wants to worm her way back into government. And that we've already spoken about the prior NYPD chiefs who are kind of jockeying around Mamdani right now, trying to get in. And to me, when I see this, I get the same vibes. You failed as FDNY commissioner before. That there was a pushback from the men and women who worked there, and now you want to come back in there again. Move on. But I will say, if she wants to come back, the memes are ready. Because we had some great memes about her, and we're ready to deploy those memes again. And now we have video too. We have AI video. So,
hey, shout out Eddie West, my brother. I heard you at the rally. I heard you had some cigars. So hold on to one for me. We're still gonna smoke one together. So, it's interesting, right? We talk about Laura Kavanaugh. She left in 2024 under complete controversy, right? So I won't go down that rabbit hole, but we know she left in some very, very interesting controversy. And it's interesting also. I mean, why wouldn't somebody want to be the deputy mayor? We've learned from Kaz Daughtry, it's a great job. All you have to do is produce content. You have no purpose, right? Because she had no purpose either. She didn't do anything good for the FDNY. If anything, she just tore it apart. She destroyed morale, left in complete controversy. So for her, that's a great position because deputy mayor doesn't have any role in public safety at all, especially in Mamdani's plan for public safety. There is no police component to it. There is no public safety plan other than replacing it with social workers that eventually will be their own police department. So it makes sense. She was useless then. She would be useless as the deputy mayor because it has zero purpose. That's the whole point. Has no purpose. The question is, would Mamdani appoint her if he did win? And just because that, with this Democratic Socialist Party, it's the first of everything, the answer might be yes. But as we see and go further into this, I don't think Mamdani is going to win either. And this is going to come down to Cuomo and Sliwa. And if people don't fall to the fear mongering, the right man could win, and we'll see Curtis Sliwa raise his hand.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the other thing: like voter turnout for early voting was huge. I mean, if it's almost bigger than we had in the last election. So it's not bigger than, but it's almost right there, the amount of votes that were had in the last election. So when you look at that, I mean, we're looking at almost 2 million votes could be cast after election day, maybe even more. 1.8 to 2.3 million, something like that. And so, like, really hard to predict because you don't know who's coming out and voting now, and so it's even more off the wall what's going to happen. And, I don't know, man, but I only know like a handful of people, and I'm not friendly with them, but I know a few people that just through social media and stuff that are voting for Mamdani. And it's literally a handful of people. I don't know anyone that's really voting for him. And just based upon that, and based upon all the people living in New York that are so afraid of him, I just can't see that he has any shot. I just don't see it. I don't see that he has any shot there. I think the polling's completely off. And I think the big money bets are all right now on Sliwa and Cuomo because they know that and they're the biggest underdogs, and somebody's going to make a lot of money. Somebody's going to make a lot of money because I'm telling you, Zohran Mamdani's not it. He's not going to be the mayor of New York City. And I think when you start to break that down and you look at all that, it's ripe for a Republican mayor. And I sat there and I said it before, like if you would have just held strong as Republicans and voted Curtis Sliwa down the line, he wins. Never mind the fact that they're undercounting the amount of Democrats that are out for Curtis Sliwa and the amount of independents. He does better with them than he does better with Democrats and independents than Zohran and Cuomo. Like, obviously they're Democrats. I'm not saying that. Then Zohran and Mamdani do with Republicans and independents. That's how I meant to say it. So I think they're discounting a lot of that. And this is a totally different election than 2021. And anybody that can't see that, you're just, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I really don't.
Yeah. I see some comments there from you, Acer. Acer said that Curtis especially loves the billionaires, and I completely disagree with that. But like I said before, these billionaires game the system. They game it well, okay? And Bill Aikman's going to eat either way. It doesn't matter who you put in there. Bill Aikman's going to eat. When you've got billions of dollars to spend, you've got a lot of influence either way. The difference is that with Curtis there, we have a backstop to prevent them from having total control. We have a seat at the table when all the negotiation and the planning takes place. Because, these commercial buildings in Manhattan that are half empty right now, you're gonna have to deal with it. No matter who you put in office, somebody's gonna have to deal with it, right? Okay, and there is a housing problem in New York City, and also the NYCHA buildings like that building in the Mitchell houses are falling apart. How much longer do you think a lot of those NYCHA buildings got before they all start completely deteriorating? So again, we have problems that need to be solved. Okay, so Bill Aikman is going to eat either way. The point is, though, that when we have somebody at the table, that has the people's voice in mind, that prevents them from going, from going over the deep end, and that's what I'm saying. But I also see Asa says also that we never talk about Sliwa saying the NYPD hates him when he was a guardian angel in the 80s. That's the NYPD leadership, Asa. Okay, and we've talked many times here. You know how we feel about leadership and the problems involved in leadership and how politics comes into play in that.
Well, I think that's a great point. I'm glad they brought that up, right? The NYPD leadership was at odds with Curtis Sliwa and his guardian angels, but the NYPD rank and file always supported Curtis Sliwa, and the NYPD rank and file is, is at odds with Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani. Why? Because Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani are the same figure. We've been telling you that. They both want to defund the police. They both want to put, they both want to put the NYPD at the lower spectrum of the pecking order when it comes to policing. They want to minimize the quality of an NYPD law enforcement officer. They want to minimize the image of an NYPD police officer by putting them at the bottom of the spectrum of policing and putting social workers at the top of the pecking order. It's not Curtis Sliwa was not the one doing that. So, and we're talking about generations ago. If we're talking about failures or issues with candidates, let's talk about failures that are most recent. And that's Andrew Cuomo. His failures are less than a decade ago, only 5 years ago. During Cuomo, people forget what life was like. life was completely upside down. Things were locked down. Everyone was just completely distorted. Fear of the unknown. You felt the fear back then, and Andrew Cuomo and his people are trying to do the same thing to you right now. They're putting you in fear again. It worked. I think anyone in Andrew Cuomo's camp had learned from COVID that people will respond in various ways when it comes to fear, and they respond in compliance. And the same thing goes right now. How do you get people to vote for a complete failure? Have them respond in compliance because of fear. So it's the same outcome. It's just a different plan. And when it comes to Zohran Mamdani, we already know that most likely he would operate just as Andrew Cuomo. He's a Democratic socialist. It's the same game plan. Defund the police, put everyone on lockdown, and look at the opposition, exactly what John said earlier. The opposition that we got from Zohran Mamdani by reinstating Marlon, and Marlon represents all the agency workers that have been put out on their ass. He didn't want to put him back because he didn't comply then. So this is someone to him, Marlon Bethel and many others just like Marlon and John and many others that stood up against the mandate. You're thinkers. You think outside the box and you don't just comply. And in order for the Democratic Socialist Party, Marxism and communism to strive, they need people that don't respond with questions and don't ask questions and don't fight back the system. Just be a good soldier and comply. And that ultimately, that's what the reason comes down to. It's a matter of control.
Yeah, and effing New Yorker, he nails it here. He says, just like Long Island City, unrecognizable. So he's talking about if the city of yes takes hold, what your single-family, multi-family neighborhoods throughout New York City are going to look like. They're going to look like Long Island City, soulless, glass buildings, corporate chains, no more mom and pop breakfast shops, no more diners, no more food stores you never heard of. It's going to be a corporate shill city, and that's exactly what they're aiming for. That's exactly what it is, effing New Yorker. That's how I know you're an effing New Yorker, because that's exactly what they're trying to do. You just like in Dumbo and all of these other. What's the one in what's the other one in Brooklyn near Sunset? I can't think of the name of it. That's like Dumbo-esque too. Like that's what they're propping up. That's what they want. They don't want you to own a home.
Park Slope?
No. But by like where IB is down over there in Brooklyn. And the Costco.
Sunset Park.
Yeah, there's like a Dumbo style building.
Oh, Industry City.
Industry City. There you go.
Oh, Industry City.
Yeah. There's no, it's in Sunset. Yeah, Industry City. It's that's exactly what they're aiming for. That's what they want. They don't want you owning a home. They want you renting. I mean, if you look at what happens now, you used to be able to buy condos in New York City, and you still can in the older buildings. But in the newer buildings, you can't buy. You're just paying exorbitant rents. That's what they want. You'll own nothing, and you'll be happy. We're going to give you 2 shit candidates, and you're going to vote for one of them. And you're not going to vote for the Republican, because if you vote for the Republican, we're going to shame you, and we're going to tell you that you're helping a socialist, and that's exactly what's happening. That's what's happening throughout New York. The other thing I just want to talk about too, that like is so similar between Zohran Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo, are their stances on the NYPD. Zohran Mamdani recently came out and said that he wants to give CCRB final disciplinary authority. What did Andrew Cuomo say about that? Nothing. He didn't say nothing. You know why? Because he's going to give CCRB final disciplinary authority too. What's Andrew Cuomo's CCRB board going to look like? Well, it's going to look just like Zohran Mamdani's CCRB board, right? It's going to look exactly, near totally, Andrew Cuomo's parole board that released 43 cop killers. So nothing changes with CCRB with a Cuomo or Zohran Mamdani. So only with Curtis Sliwa, who we outlined the whole plan, what he would do is he would put a fair and balanced board there, and you would get fair and balanced cases and investigations when people complain about you on the streets in New York. And who could want that? That's all that anyone has ever really been asking for. Stop with the reverse engineered investigations. But with them, you're still getting that. So you're not restoring morale in the NYPD. Cops still aren't feeling empowered in the NYPD. 50A, the repeal of 50A, Andrew Cuomo brought that into place. That was put there to, give activist groups fodder to emasculate you, to stand there on the streets. And then how many social media influencers, their only thing that they post is abusing cops. That's a direct result of the repeal of 50A from Andrew Cuomo. Zohran Mamdani supported it. And then when you look at their disdain for the police, it's exactly the same, because there is no difference between ICE or the NYPD. The NYPD enforces city law. ICE enforces federal law, right? What's the difference? Sometimes the NYPD is used for political gain from the leadership, and sometimes ICE is used for political gain from the leadership. But the rank and file are made up of people who love this country, who put their life on the line to defend this country. And what does Zohran Mamdani stands on it? Well, ICE is a radical agency. Well, if ICE is a radical agency, then the NYPD is a radical agency, right? And what did Andrew Cuomo tell you in debate 2 on the debate stage? What did he tell you? He told you he was going to use the NYPD to stop ICE from enforcing federal immigration law on New York City streets. That is the most radical stance that I've heard, other than Zohran Mamdani saying that he would use the NYPD to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu. So Andrew Cuomo, Zohran Mamdani, 2 radicals that can't be trusted with the NYPD.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, back in 2016, Cuomo again criticized the head of the CCRB, but Cuomo talks a good game, but when it comes down to looking at his policy, it's quite different. His policy is far left, while his talking game is makes it seem like he's a centrist or sensible. But I think he's in even worse position than he was back then to push back against the far left. Okay, because again, he's a disgraced former governor trying to get back into the political game. So how much hope is there that he's going to push back against the far left when he needs them to keep to keep the wind in his in favor of him, So I think we're going to get far left Andrew Cuomo, and we shouldn't expect much different from what a Zohan would give us.
Good morning. Shout out to Mike Smith. I'm glad you can make it. I wasn't sure if you're still busy tweeting with Fat Triple Neck and keeping you busy. So anyway, listen, I think, when we talk about these candidates, I really do think the city of yes is what this ultimately comes down to. I think this is the byproduct of this election. I really do. And it's a scary sight. If we think about the city of yes, if we actually allow the developers to really put their feet into this, I mean, every neighborhood will look exactly the same. I think Long Island City is a great neighborhood to bring up. Don't get me wrong. It's been gentrified. It's gotten a lot better, but in a lot of ways, it's lost the community vibe. It lost that feeling of New York City. It doesn't feel like New York City. It doesn't have that community feel. No one knows each other. The apartments are all exactly 400 to 500 square feet. They're all exactly the same. No one even knows their landlords. You rent an apartment like that. You put an application through an app. It comes back. That person goes to that apartment. Gets a code. Goes into the apartment, never meets their landlords, never meets their neighbors. There's no community feel to it. So the city of yes, I say for a real New Yorker, it should be hell no. Should be the city of no. Because that's what just deteriorates from that New York City vibe. It's like China or Singapore. And is it safer in many ways? Yeah, but you're giving up that feel of New York City. That's what we love. Going to that local mom and pop shop, going to that local mom and pop hardware store, getting your local pizza, getting a bagels, getting your what does Cuomo call it? The bacon, cheese, and egg. And I thought it was a bacon, egg, and cheese, salt, pepper, ketchup. But these are people that don't have any emotion invested in New York City. Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani, they don't have any investment in New York City in that feel that we all love. New York City is the most iconic world. Everyone has either been to New York City, want to go to New York City, or know something about New York City. But we've all lived it. And we know it's far different when you live it. And if we let New York City being controlled by Zohran Mamdani or Andrew Cuomo, we'll completely lost that feel. And with Eric Adams, we've lost it already. But it's going completely over the cliff. So if you like Eric Adams, if you like the way things played out, you like corrupt administration, you like all the cronies being in, you like the first of everything, you like being manipulated and lied to about crime, vote for Andrew Cuomo, vote for Zohran Mamdani. And not only that, they're going to take it a step further. They're going to eradicate your police department. You're going to have social workers running around. I don't know, maybe they'll wear pink hats and blue ball gags, and they're going to respond to homes, and they're going to do police work. That's and they're all going to live in these cookie cutter homes, and New York City is going to look like the Jetsons. So forget about it. So it's over. Game over.
Yeah. I see a 15-minute comment from Celie. Spot on.
What'd she say?
She said, Long Island City, LIC, 15-minute city experiment coming to a town near you when you vote for either Cuomo or Mamdani. 100%. It's part of the 15-minute initiative.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah. And we're going to take all your calls, too, because you think congestion pricing. Who loves congestion pricing?
Okay.
Andrew Cuomo loves congestion pricing. You know who else loves congestion pricing? Zohran Mamdani loves congestion pricing. And you think congestion pricing is just staying in Midtown Manhattan? Oh, no, it ain't, my friends. It's coming to every neighborhood by you. It's going to be everywhere. Why? Because they don't want you driving. That's it. They want you taking mass transit. Oh, they'll still drive around. Don't worry. And they're going to get all the tickets and the camera lights. They're going to have thousands of them. They're not going to pay it. And you're not even going to know them because they're going to have no searches. So, like they're going to drive around and they're going to have no traffic. And you useless mouth breathers are going to sit and talk on the trains. And that's what it is. Like, it's that's what it is. So now Andrew Cuomo praises Eric Adams' plan to hire 5,000 more, not to hire more 5,000 more cops, because Andrew Cuomo is saying he's going to hire 5,000 more cops. What Eric Adams is saying is he's going to raise the head count to about 40,000. So let's just get this straight. He could have did that 3.5 years ago, and he didn't. What did he do? Instead, he told you in 2021. He said, I'm going to lower the overall headcount of the NYPD through attrition, and you morons voted. And now I'm not there, Eric's not there, Marlon's not there, Sal's not there, and thousands of you out there are no longer in the NYPD. And it's all people that born and bred New Yorkers, people that love New York, people that have integrity, people that have compassion, people that have faith, people that loved what they did. Very competent people, right? Very competent people. So they made a big mistake by doing that. And by doing that, they lost the morale of the NYPD, because the people who stayed because they really felt they had no choice. They felt trapped, but they felt abused by the NYPD. So they lowered the morale of the NYPD, and they lost their number one recruiter, which is the rank and file of the NYPD. They have been and always will be the number one recruiter for that agency. It is you can't convince someone, hey, when someone starts shooting a gun in the air, you're going to be the guy to go run and do it, unless someone really loves what they do and they could explain it and articulate it properly to the youth. And people be like, wow, I want to do that too. I want to go play superhero too. So, but when people are telling you not to take the job, I don't want my kids to take the job's now in a death spiral. The attrition rate is probably going to be 5,000 this year. So Andrew Cuomo is going to have to hire 5,000 cops just to keep up with the amount of people that he lost. But we're getting low quality candidates. And the issue is not funding in New York City. They have enough funding to hire 50,000 cops. They don't need money. They need quality candidates. And that's what they're not getting. And again, I'll just say it one more time. The chances that Eric Adams is telling you anything that's legit, he's lied to you about literally everything. There is nothing that he hasn't flip-flopped on. There is nothing that he told you that is true. There's not one thing. This is about as real, this plan that he's going to raise the headcount to 40,000. It's about as real as when he told you 3 months ago he was going to register 1 million voters and he was the only one that could beat Zohran Mamdani. It's all a game. It's just political fodder. What do you guys think about this?
Let's see. I think it's very interesting, that this is happening now. If you've been paying attention to what Eric Adams is doing, he's making a lot of a lot of initiatives this month, before the new mayor comes in. That I'll give you one example, right? He signed an executive order establishing the first ever municipal office of digital assets and blockchain, right? And he signed the measure for the NYC baby boxes program, the redevelopment of the Gansevoort Square. He's doing a lot of things before the new mayor comes in, which is very interesting. And I think it needs to be. I'm going to look at it after the election, dig into it further, and see where the money is going. But I think it's very interesting, considering a couple of weeks ago, I said that we should pay attention to see if he basically empties the city coffers before he leaves. And it's very interesting that at this moment he's choosing this moment to push them out when he's essentially a lame duck. So I think it's interesting, and I think we need to dive deeper into it to figure out like what his end game is in actually all of this, because like you said, John, he could have done this a while ago, and all the cops that have been forced to push out like ourselves, you could easily brought them back, and we're already trained, we already have experience. You're gonna get the department is gonna need to fill the ranks with people who are unqualified here, okay, in order to get that many people in that time frame. And as we've seen it, and we'll talk about it soon, it's becoming a problem.
I think this whole thing's laughable when we hear from Andrew Cuomo that he wants to hire 5,000 more cops. I think he'll tell you whatever you want to hear. We'll hire 20 more thousand cops, because we know damn well that Andrew Cuomo is no different than Zohran Mamdani, that he wants to put the NYPD at the lowest spectrum of the pecking order when it comes to policing, and there'll be some type of reform. Back in 2020, he made a demand for reform of police work, created all this legislation that has made the NYPD so vulnerable right now, and yet he wants to amp it up 5,000 more. He knows damn well if he tells you that he'll up it up 10,000, even if they were able to find 10,000 candidates to actually become police officers, it still won't affect the numbers, because we still have mass attrition, and you're never going to get 10,000 qualified candidates. You're going to just get bodies. It's at the point where eventually the farm for the NYPD will just be traffic agents or some other some other agency, or maybe they'll get it from their social workers, or the social workers will be the police department, what we've been saying. But they're not going to get these numbers. They can tell you all they want. Getting 5,000. Where are you getting these cops from? What type of caliber people? Who wants a job right now? Even people that don't want the job, that just saw it for the opportunity just to sit there and do nothing, they don't even want it anymore. They just don't want to be a part of this bureaucracy. So it's just pure bullshit. This is all gaslighting. They can tell you they want to hire 5,000 more. And according to Andrew Cuomo, if they hired 5,000 more, that would be a 15% increase. That would say that we would have about 35,000 right now. We know that is a damn lie. There's no doubt about it. There is definitely less than 30,000 cops on the streets of New York City. This idea that there's 35,000 cops has been a lie ever since that triple fat neck was the chief of department. They've been lying about those numbers. There's no 35,000 cops. So you can, to me, it's just like, water's coming in, and they're telling you that they're going to put a dam in, but yet there's still holes in that dam and the water's still coming in. They're never getting these cops. This is absolutely ridiculous.
No, and then like who would really want to work for an Andrew Cuomo or a Zohran Mamdani? Like, even if you get the cops, people like, oh, they're going to flee. I'm like, nah, I don't think you're going to see a huge exodus. You're going to see guys who are on the fence, who are already eligible to leave. You're going to might see some of them leave, but they're not going to leave on Wednesday. Oh, Zohran Mamdani won, I'm out. They're going to quit. They're just not going to tell anybody. They're going to keep coming to work. Like that's basically the majority of the NYPD right now. They quit. They just never told anyone. They show up to work every day. And I don't blame them, I don't blame them. GI Bro says, so what's John gonna say when Mamdani wins? Then I'm wrong, right? But I don't think so, GI Bro. I think it's funny, I think you were the one too that said that Zohran Mamdani had no shot of winning the Democratic primary. If I remember correctly, I think it was you. I'm pretty sure it was you that said this guy's nobody, and I think Eric read out your comment, if I'm not mistaken. So again, am I human? Could I see something wrong? Absolutely, I can, but I'm willing to make a bet. Zohran Mamdani is not going to be the mayor of New York City. And so let me know. Hit me up, GI bro. Hit me up in the DMs, you know? And but like, so you know, and here he is again. Here's another clip that I don't think we really played this one much. And I did a terrible job at sharing this clip too, but listen to what he says here, Andrew Cuomo. This is Andrew Cuomo, you know, like ultimately, and my ultimate thing is like I take out Andrew Cuomo, take out Zohran Mamdani, take out anyone. It doesn't matter. Put any Democrat in their place that wants to appeal, that feels that they need to appeal to this far left class, this anti-police class. They're going to be saying the same thing that Andrew Cuomo was saying in 2020. Here's Andrew Cuomo in 2020 on the defund the police movement.
This is a transformation moment across the country. People are saying it has to stop. We have to change, right? When they're saying defund the police, what are they saying? They're saying we want fundamental, basic change when it comes to policing. And they're right. They are right. They're saying Mr. Floyd, Mr. Garner, Mr. Louima, Mr. Diallo, enough is enough. So they're right. Our state legislative packages will do that. But I also believe you'll see that in every police department that is now operating. They understand they're operating in a different reality with different perceptions and different mandates. So I think you will see a shift all across police departments. I think police departments that don't hear it and don't get it are going to have a real problem. And the political leadership of that police department will have a problem, right? And those local mayors, you look at what's happening in Minneapolis now. So I think the mayor, as the elected official, they will get the message, and then it's going to be up to them whether or not their police department has done it. Now, I would like to see us actually go further than that, Zach.
Yeah. People forget, you forget. So defund the police movement wasn't just a legitimate school of thought. He actually wanted it to go further. And you people are sitting there telling us he's the public safety mayor and we're helping a communist? Who are you helping?
Yeah. Great point. Yeah. And again, what's the difference there? Okay. What are we, what you're telling us to vote for Cuomo to avoid getting Mamdani, yet we're getting the same policies. You're getting the same thinking behind, you're getting the same agenda. So what are you asking us to vote for? Yeah. It's again the point that you guys got to stay principled and you can't fall for what's clearly a psychological operation being waged against you right now. So
Mike Smith says it great right here, right in the chat. Andrew Cuomo. He was the architect of defund the police. Absolutely. If anything, he was the pioneer. As far as on the New York State level, he's the pioneer of defund the police, and he actually defunded the police. Zohran Mamdani actually hasn't even defunded the police yet because he hasn't been in office and he hasn't done anything yet. But Andrew Cuomo actually defunded the police. He repealed 50A. It's him that caused the bail reform, discovery laws. It's because of Andrew Cuomo. The city council actually jumped on qualified immunity. It's Andrew Cuomo that legitimately defunded the police. So anyone, Dov Hiken, the Sid Rosenbergs of New York City, you stepping away from Curtis Lee with getting behind Andrew Cuomo, maybe you need to be reminded of who defunded the police and made it a much more unsafe place and uninhabitable for many New Yorkers and a place where New York City people are leaving and going to better pastures. That's why. So Zohran Mamdani doesn't even have a resume. He has it's lack thereof. It's a blank piece of paper. But Andrew Cuomo has a failed resume of failed experiences. He talks about his experience. It's a failure and it's a knock on the police. And he said, that's the key words. And I'm glad you closed it out there, John. He wanted to take it even further. And what does that mean? What does that mean? Take what further? Well, you're seeing it right now. with Zohran Mamdani. The only difference is Zohran Mamdani is telling you his plan, that the NYPD will be the bottom of the pecking order and social workers will be the new police department. And with Andrew Cuomo, it's the same thing. Let's get rid of the police department. Let's defund the police. Let's abolish the police. So this idea to get you 5,000 more cops, yeah, they could get you 5,000, but it's not going to do anything because we still have the attrition. You're right, John. No one's leaving in a hurry because of Zohran Mamdani, but they quit while they're still there. They're potted plants. The police, the majority are not doing good, wholesome, intrusive police work because they can't. Because if you get a civilian complaint right now, and if Zohran Mamdani or Andrew Cuomo gets in office, that civilian complaint will be heavily weighed against you because there's 18-month statute of limitations. So the message to the NYPD cops out there right now, you need to beware and be prepared when you're doing policing right now, because anything you do can be held against you within a couple of months if Curtis Lewa doesn't win. So we have to fight real hard. There's only one more day. We have 24 hours left to fight for Curtis Lewa. Curtis Lewa is the man for the job. That's it. Cozy Wellness told you. Do you want to vote for a homosexual? You want to go for someone that has no testicles, or you want to go for Curtis Lewa, 71 years old, out there all day, boots on the ground? He's the only one that legitimately hasn't been out there with a car. He's out there taking the subway. He's the only one that actually has his boots on the ground, while Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani are driven everywhere. Curtis Lewa, he's the man for the job.
Yeah, I mean it's clear as day. You know, Shelly Batista, she actually says it too. Slee was the only one that supports the police. Listen to this take. Listen to this take in 2022. This was insane too. You know, shout out to Cozy Wellness. Make sure you check out a bunch of Cuomo-sexuals out on Spotify. Cozy, give us permission. We're gonna play it one more time. We'll play it at the end. You know, we'll give us some copyright protections here. You know, and but yeah, listen to this take in 2020. Like this is the Andrew Cuomo. Like what's the difference here? Is this Zohran Mamdani speaking, or is this Andrew Cuomo speaking? Is this Eric Adams speaking? Is this Bill de Blasio speaking? Is this any one of the prominent Democrats in the Democrat Party? Here we go.
So the looting was very bad. It wasn't the fault of the protesters.
Rioters smashed windows all along Broadway, Spring and West Broadway.
Yeah, it was bad. But I said it was bad. And I said it had to stop, and it had to stop now. And it was a management deployment issue of the police.
This is a charred out NYPD SUV. You can see it right there. It is not the first, but this...
Count some of the destruction left behind. You see this police car right here that was torched amid those protests for
Some people try to put the protesters as looters. Yeah, that would be a way to dismiss the protesters, but it's not true.
I mean, you're voting for this guy. Your son's a cop. Your daughter's a cop. You were a cop. You're voting for this guy. You better get your ass out to the polls and vote Curtis Lewa. That is this. You know what? You're just the biggest traitor as a Greg Kelly or an Ina Vernicoff or anybody else. You vote for this guy, you're going to get everything you deserve.
Yep. And if you're falling for this psychological operation now, then I fear for what you're going to fall for next, because make no mistake about it, there's something else coming around the horizon. Because if you're paying attention to what's going on in Europe and what's going on in England in particular, where they're pushing digital ID, if you think that's not coming here, you're crazy, because behind that digital ID is American tech and American big tech companies like Oracle. Okay. So that's coming next, and you best believe that a massive psychological campaign will be behind that as well, because in the case of, just like in the case of this election and just like in the case of this pandemic, they want you they want your compliancy, and they want they want mass public support for an agenda that's clearly against the interests of the common man. So you have to wake up and see what they're pushing onto you right now.
I'm quite intrigued here. So Ace in New York City says Curtis was Rudy's left nut. Remember, stop and frisk. Get ready to throw out the Constitution, people. So there's always going to be a margin of error in policing. So are you to tell me that you'd rather have the margin of error where police are doing intrusive police work, keeping the city safe, that margin of error that we could easily work on, you'd rather have the margin of error with Zohran Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo, where the police are completely removed and we're not doing any intrusive police work. We have social workers responding. We have violence interrupters getting paid for who knows what. And the city's going to be running amok, as it already is, because crime is out of control. It's being completely misrepresented. It's not being documented properly. So we don't have an actual picture of what's going on. The picture that we have what's going on in New York City is what we see and what we feel, and that's the reality. So I find this hard to believe that you say that, Ace of New York City. You are welcome to your opinion, but intrusive police work with stop and frisk is a fantastic tool. It's not something that Ray Kelly invented, which people think. It's a case of People versus DeBoer. And also Terry versus Ohio, which came from 1968 and 1976, that allows the police officers to be intrusive, to do good police work, the bedrock and foundation of policing. Unfortunately, there was some failed leadership and there were numbers pushed, but that margin of error can be fixed. That's an easy fix in comparison to what we get from Andrew Cuomo and Zohran Mamdani. They want to completely change the face of policing in New York City and spread that to the entire country. And the city will just be out of control.
So it's only fair. Where was Curtis Sliwa in 2020? Let's see. Was he saying defund the police? Was he saying that, everything's good, let them do what they want? No, here he is, out with his guys for $0. Here he is, guarding businesses, boarded up businesses in Soho. One of the highest per capita square foot prices in the entire world. And it was boarded up. If they're willing to let this happen in Soho, what do you think they're willing to let happen in your neighborhood? What do you think? Look at that. For free. You know how much money he earned? Nothing. He was out there in 2020 doing that. That's where he was. And you're going to go where Andrew Cuomo was, or where Zohran Mamdani was, or Eric Adams, or any of the Democrats? I mean, they lost us in 2020 and they know it. And that's why they're pushing all of this up. They're like, all right, what could we do that's worse than what we've already done? Oh, let's put a straw man up there. Who's that straw man? Zohran Mamdani. Let's help this kid win. I'm telling you, it was a brilliant campaign strategy. So GI bro, hit me up. Let me know how much money you're going to give me on Wednesday, because I want to know, because Zohran Mamdani is not going to be the mayor. He's going to underperform compared to what he did at the Democratic primary, which he was propped up by Adams, I think by Sliwa, I think by Sliwa supporters, and I also think by Cuomo supporters. I don't think he has that much support in New York City. I just don't. I think it was all a prop. I think a lot of us fell for it. I think we got played again, and the gig's up. And I think it's time we start to realize what's happening and how manipulated these elections are, and how big money can influence us, the media, social media influencers, the things that we're being told, that you're being constantly, stop the spread. Remember the body count? Remember that? Remember they were putting the body count up and making it run? There was one day I was sitting there talking to, I just had a weird conversation, like at a family dinner with my sisters and like a couple of their friends. And I was just talking about how many people die in New York City every day. And I don't remember the exact number, because it was pre-COVID. We were having this conversation, and like, I don't know why I had looked it up, but I had looked it up. And I'm just going to do a roundabout. Let's say it was like 500 people a day die in New York City, right? In a city of over, they say 8.5 million. It's like 12, 13 million. But like, so in a city, you figure about 500 people die every day in New York City. I don't know if that was the exact number, but at the time it was something around that. And so then COVID hits, and they put out an article like, it's so bad. And they cited that number. The exact number pre-COVID was not an issue. It only became an issue when they needed to scare you. I'm like, wait a minute, but that's, I was like, so I was with my sister when Andrew Cuomo told us we couldn't have more than 10 people in our house. We thankfully are Americans and said, we're going to do whatever the hell we want to do. And we still gathered and had parties, and we had speakeasy communions and speakeasy confirmations. And we still went to weddings And I still went out to restaurants, by the way. The storefront might have been shut. I just went in the back door. Shout out to all of you. Won't blow you up on here, but all you guys that did it, nobody asking me for a call or nothing. Shout out to all of you that are patriots, that are Americans, that believe in the freedoms that men fought and died for. Men and women fought and died for. And so, I think, when you look at that, you just see all this propaganda. And just quick shout out to Mike Smith. Make sure you follow retired Detective Mike Smith on Twitter. He's been going back and forth with John Schell. I think it sparked over this post. I don't remember which post it was, but it's absolutely hysterical. I was crying looking at that last night. It's like when I laid down in bed, I literally had tears in my eyes. But so super funny. Check out Mike Smith on X. He's on Instagram as well. Been on the show before. Hope to have him back soon. But this article comes out. We're doomed. Controversial former NYPD sounds alarm on potential Mondani agenda. And this is enough. I just couldn't help but laugh. I couldn't help but laugh because he's talking about how cops are going to start leaving in droves. And he's not acknowledging all of the cops, the 14,500 that's been reported. Mind you, that's been reported in the last 4.5 years. 14,500 cops have either retired early, or resigned under this man's management, right? And that is more than any administration in New York City history. And yet he's sitting here sounding the alarm. I mean, it's laughable.
John, you forgot. Give the guy a little credit. I mean, come on. He was only the chief of department a week ago. So a lot has changed in a week.
Yeah.
He forgot he was the chief of department. Oh, wait a minute. Who was the chief of department when all this was happening? Oh, that was me.
But listen, you and Mike got to be nice to him, because I don't like to pick on disabled people. And, he's got a bum ankle. He's disabled. You shouldn't be doing that. You guys are wrong.
He still hasn't answered my question. So, John, I'll call you Johnny Hashtags, little buddy John. I asked you a question, very simple question. Did you not have a walkout because of your ankle, or was it something else? I'm just curious. We have not heard yet why you didn't have a walkout. I assume it wasn't because of your ankle. I figure you could hop along. But if you could tell us why you didn't have a walkout, I'm curious.
Yeah.
I haven't heard a word yet.
Yeah, he it's funny how much of a voice he has now that he's no longer there, even though the mayor he works for has policies that are very similar to what Zohan and Cuomo are proposing right now. So, that picture John showed of back during 2020 is really, like, it really gets me, because I think of a lot of the mom and pop shops that no longer exist, and a lot of them couldn't come back from that, couldn't come back from like the destruction that came, and then the scamdemic which followed that. And you ask yourself, who benefited from all of that? Well, it's the vampire class, those are those mom and pops are closed, and what's there replacing them now, now that it just made the areas more susceptible to, if you think about it, really, it just made those areas more susceptible for redevelopment, because if the mom and pop can't afford it no more, then, they're easily willing to take a buyout offer. But again, it goes back to the fact that this is all part of the same agenda, and it's just against the common man. But I expect a lot more from John Schell going forward. He's going to continue trying to ignore the fact that he was part of this administration, and they believe people are so dumb, and we have such short-term memory that we're going to forget which administration he worked on just like two weeks ago.
I just want to say congratulations to John Schell, who was coming at me all weekend quite early. He came at me early in the night. I was like, wow, is the bar open already? But he came at me early, and I know he gained a couple of followers from those interactions. So congratulations. If you like a couple of followers, just contact us anytime. No problem. But yeah, he didn't have too much to say about his time as chief of department. He forgot. I think it was less than 2 weeks ago he was chief of department. Memories go quick. So But unfortunately, trash is trash. You can't change that. Zebras don't change their stripes. Neither does he.
Yeah, no. He thinks he's better than people. It's he's telling Eric, "Oh, I'll pay for your trailer fees." Like the guy's you should hit him up. Like honestly, I mean, you're robbing from New York City anyway. He should throw some of that money back to the people. But be a little populist for once in your life, shall stop being a water boy for the billionaires. Anything else you guys got? We got about 1,200 people on here this morning. Thanks everybody for joining. We kind of went over the election. We were talking about Zohran Mamdani. I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm saying there's no way in hell he's becoming the mayor of New York City. I think his primary defeat was propped up in order to get you to vote for Andrew Cuomo. I think that he has no shot. I think the polls were going to be highly wrong. And he was nowhere near 90%, just like he was near at 1% when they told you. And the same thing with the betting sites and the social media influences and the fake news media and these paid for talking heads. I think they're all propping him up to put a straw man up there for you to all fight against and hold your nose and get you to hold your nose and vote for Andrew Cuomo. And shame on anyone that falls for it. Tomorrow's election day. The only poll that matters, the only betting site that matters, it's your vote. They're trying to steal it from you. Get out there, vote for Curtis Sliwa. If you care about the city, if you want the city to go in a different direction than where it's been headed, there's only one candidate. If you support the police, there's only one candidate. If you support medical freedom, there's only one candidate. If you support New York City restoring patriots like Marlon Bethel back to their rightful employment, vote for Curtis Sliwa. And that's it. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get out of here?
No, I think it's a great conversation. It's Monday morning, the day before the final election. We see the numbers right now. The numbers are fantastic in early voting. I think the last election, it was the least amount they've ever seen in early voting. The numbers were so terribly low, and we see a huge comparison right now. So I just want to say God bless to Curtis Sliwa. No matter what the outcome is, I do believe you're going to win. But no matter what the outcome is, God bless everything you did for this campaign. God bless everything you've done in your life in New York City. And I hope this election, win or lose, doesn't change that. It doesn't matter. They can't take that away from you. And life is not just about your wins. It's when you get knocked down and get back up. So that's why I say, Curtis, I said this to him when he interviewed with us. He won every fight in his life because he gets kicked down, he gets knocked down, he gets right back up. That's a real man. That's someone that we need to lead the city. So God bless him. And let's keep fighting. Let's hope for the best. And one more day, we'll tell the tale. So thank you, everyone. Great chat as always. Great audience engagement. I really appreciate it. It's great to be back. It really is. And I highly recommend, don't get me wrong, I love Europe. I love traveling. It's fantastic. But I think it's important to travel. Every time I travel, I realize how much we have in America. And it makes me love it even more. So let's not give it up. So for the people that want to break down the foundation of America and tell you how bad it is, ask them if they've ever been anywhere else. Because until you traveled anywhere else, I don't think you could truly appreciate what we have here. This is an amazing country. We have to fight for it. We can't let it go. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a comment from TC. TC says, I'm going to laugh when nothing happens to NYC during Zohan's time as mayor. And I'm going to disagree with you there, TC. If Zohan was to come in, regardless of who comes in, right? So it's not just Zohan, right? Whoever comes in, I would expect big changes to New York, okay? That the big changes are coming. Those big changes are relate to the budgeting, the fiscal situation. They relate to the infrastructure. They relate to the housing situation, okay? We're at a pivotal point in history, and you need to zoom out and see what's happening in America and happening in the world. Right, there's a lot of unprecedented things happening in the world right now. You look at what's going on between Europe and Russia, and the fact that NATO might be splitting up in a couple of years because parts of Europe don't want to go along with the program. Hungary doesn't want to go along with the Western Europe. You look at what's happening in the Middle East. We talked about. I mean, clearly you see what's going on in Gaza and between Israel and Iran. You see what's going on between America and China and and the back and forth with trade and tariffs, which are again unprecedented. We're in an unprecedented time where there's a lot of changes coming, and this is why I keep going back to the Fourth Turning book, because again, it falls in line with history and those cycles. So whoever gets into City Hall, you're going to expect big changes, and it again, it's just a matter of getting somebody in there that also keeps in mind when those changes happen that, you know, those changes have to keep in mind the ordinary people as well, so we don't lose our soul in the process. So yeah, thank you guys for joining us, and you know, we always appreciate you, and we always appreciate the lively chat.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it, people. So, all right, check out today. Sal Greco is going to have a show with Elijah Diaz, special show. He'll be back on tomorrow for Election Day as well. And then, you know, he'll be followed by 10-4 Tavern Wednesday. We'll be back, you know, we'll be back to break down exactly what happened. It's going to be interesting, people, but I guarantee you this, the polls are going to be wrong. Donnie's not going to be a mayor. I guarantee it. And I think Curtis Sliwa is ahead, and that's why they were spending billions of dollars to tell you not to vote for him, is to continue with their agenda. But whether it's successful or it's not, I already think Curtis Sliwa has won, because I think the gig has just been exposed, and I think it's going to come to fruition. And, you know, will they try again? Absolutely. Will the manipulation always be there? But I think a lot more people are going to be awake to what happened about it, and it's a revelation. It's been brilliant, man. It's been brilliant to watch. So let's go, Curtis Sliwa. Get out there and vote. Vote with your conscience. Don't vote with what the news media tells you. Vote with what's in your heart. Vote for the candidate that you believe is the best candidate. Don't hold your nose and vote for anybody ever. Vote for the best candidate always, and because sometimes you're going to get shocked. And I know in 2016, a lot of you were just as shocked as I was. I was like, "Holy shit, he won!"
Yeah.
Well, no matter what happens with this election, Finest Unfiltered is not going anywhere. We're only growing, getting better. So, you know, to John Schell and Sid Rosenberg, you know, thank you for the engagement. We appreciate it. Thank all our friends and listeners here and the trolls. We appreciate it. Let's keep rocking. Let's keep rocking together. We're going to build, and we're going to fight for New York City. No matter what happens, we're going to fight for New York City. So, Curtis, again, thank you. Keep doing what you're doing, Curtis Sliwa. We appreciate it. God bless you. No matter what, you're a winner in this game.
All right, Finest Unfiltered, people. We'll be back at you.
There's a handful of retired officers that don't live in the state that have a lot to say about the dream team, as I like to call it. All of a sudden, they retire and have a master plan on how to fight crime, but nothing to contribute when they were here. They want to come back and be part of the dream team. What can I say?